Hey, butterflies. This is your girl, Sharon K. Griffin, aka Madam Butterfly. How are you on this evening? Me, to be honest, I feel like I'm rushed. Um, I was supposed to be home about 30 minutes ago, and I just got home maybe 10. So just trying to figure it all out real quick. And we have those days. Do I like having those days? No, because I'm generally very well prepared in who I am and what I do. However, okay, I have Diamond here. But however, I wanted to just say welcome, 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 butterflies. I hope that you are flapping your wings, yes, and living your authentic life outside of the cocoon. Remember, March 27th, I start my book tour, virtual book tour for 134 reasons you can't find a man. And trust me, ladies, if you can't find a man after reading this one, you definitely will. But on today, I have a beautiful soul, and her name is Leah Forney. Yes, I had to look to my right because I wanted to make sure that I pronunciated her name correctly. So please, let's welcome Miss Leah Forney.
Hi,
Hi, Leah. How
how
are
are
you?
you? I'm good. It's Friday night, so I can't
I
complain.
know it's Friday night and I got my margarita here. I think my husband gave it to me to calm me down a little. Um, but I don't want to drink it all because then my other alter ego will come out and then we might be doing some other things on this interview, right?
Right, right.
But
Nothing wrong with a margarita, though. Nothing wrong. So kudos
oh
to the
honey,
husband.
honey, I love having multiples. So not multiple orgasms, but multiple margaritas. So anyway, and I actually do like multiple orgasms too. But anyway, Leah, I am so excited to have you here. Again, my name is Sharon, and it's about the conversation, right? And what I love about you already is that you have a podcast
I
called
do.
Hey Queen Thrive. That is powerful in itself. Could you please tell my listening audience more about you, but also about Hey Queen Thrive?
Yeah, so hey listeners, I am Leah Forney. I'm originally from Queens, New York, currently residing in Maryland. I am a published author, well, 7-time published author. I usually downplay it, but my friends love to tell me you better toot your own horn. So this is me
Yes,
tooting
honey.
my own
Yes, I'm
horn.
learning that. I'm
So
learning. I'm learning.
So I'm a 7-time published author. I'm also a coach, a writing coach. I also am a mental health clinician and a podcast host of Hey Queen Thrive. And so Hey Queen Thrive actually came about maybe a year ago. I was going back and forth about an idea of kind of expanding my brand. And I
Okay.
was like, I want to do a podcast. I'm always featured on people's podcasts. So I wanted to create the space and the platform to feature other people on my podcast. But I couldn't come up with a name, Sharon. Like, I could not come up with a name, and I was trying to figure it out for the longest, and then one day, I decided to take a nap, and when I
Okay.
took a nap, the Lord revealed to me, "Hey, Queen Thrive," while I was
I
sleeping.
love it.
So
Well,
then I woke up.
I totally believe that because God speaks to us in so many different ways. So I think that's like super dope and super cool that that's how it was given to you.
Yeah.
So regarding Hey Queen Thrive, I mean, I like hey, and then Queen fix my crown, and Thrive is like get up and do something, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
what is Hey Queen Thrive to you?
Yeah, so the vision behind Hey Queen Thrive is really creating a platform and a space where I can feature some really dope women that are doing a thing. I've had guests that are not just authors, they're nurses, they're doctors. I have my upcoming guests, I have a sex therapist. Like they're just
Woo,
doing
yes.
dope things. And so I wanted to highlight these women and have just a girls chit chat. And so we scheduled. It started off bi-weekly. I started getting people saying, "No, we want more." So now we're weekly. But it has just been absolutely amazing. I kicked it off January 14th, and we have
Okay.
already gone international. And it's just been amazing to hear the feedback, to see people waiting for the next episode of Hey Queen Thrive. And
Yeah.
then at first I was trying to figure out like who can I get on there. And again,
Okay.
God said, you already know. You have all these connections. Tap into who you
Yeah.
already know. So I started reaching out to some of my therapist friends and some of my author friends and all these
Okay.
entrepreneurs that I knew. And they were like, yeah, absolutely. When you want to do it. So that's
Oh,
how Hey
I
Queen
love
Thrive got
it.
here.
So is your platform like audio or is it audio and video?
So I'm starting off with audio.
Okay.
My plan is for season 2 definitely to kick in the video piece because I've noticed just by being on other people's platforms, that's the trend, audio and
Okay.
video.
Yes.
So that's the plan for season 2 to definitely kick in the video piece so that people can actually see who I'm talking to. It's one thing to hear a voice; it's another thing to kind of put a face to a name. So.
And that's true. So, all right, speaking of audio, right? Are you on Clubhouse?
No, so listen, backstory.
You
I'm
ain't
an
get your
Android user.
invite.
Look, I'm an Android user. I am team Android, even though probably all my friends and my significant other is team iPhone, and they'd be looking at me like, you might as well just come over here to this iPhone life.
Okay.
But it's funny because I
Okay.
have a
Okay.
lot of people on Clubhouse, and I've heard that it's great, but then I also hear it's got some messiness to it.
You know what? And I hear about the messiness, but I try to stay out the messy rooms or what I would think is considered messy. I like the smaller, intimate rooms where you really get to know people
Yeah,
and you hear or have those authentic conversations. I'm too old for messiness, right?
yeah.
So, and I don't want to talk about sex all the time, even though on, my live, like it always sneaks in some way, somehow. Um, but I don't want to be in the room like where that's the total conversation.
Yeah,
I want to learn, I want to grow.
yeah.
And I think it would be so amazing for you. So you might have to like break down and get an iPhone. I don't know, or borrow someone's and kind of get on the app that way. I don't know, Leah. You need to figure the shit
Yeah,
out.
I might have to because I have friends that are like, "Girl, I be wanting to send you an invite, and I can't send you an invite because you're over here with the Android." I might have to do like my best friend did. So she's team Android too, but she got her an iPad, and that's how she's been able to get
Okay.
on Clubhouse. So I might have to do that. I
Okay.
might just go ahead and give me an iPad and then get on Clubhouse that way.
I think that's super dope. And I think the fact that because you are a podcaster, that you probably will connect with more dope queens,
Yeah.
to be honest, to interview, because I've actually gotten some people off of Clubhouse to interview.
Wow.
So you have a book coming out,
I do.
and I know it's launching March 23rd.
Yep.
Give us the title and what it's about and what inspired you to write this next read.
Yeah, so the title's called Power of Reconciliation: Healing from the Inside Out. So one thing about me as a nonfiction author, I love to take my audience on a journey. So every
Nice.
last one of my books ends at a certain point in my life and picks up at a certain point in my life. So it's almost like they kind of get the full scope of what's been happening in my life from book number 1 all the way down. And
I love
so
it.
Power of Reconciliation came at a time where God was really starting to heal some things in my life. I grew up without my parents, and I had some severe mommy and daddy issues. Like, I'm not gonna lie
Okay.
to you, Sharon. I had some severe mommy and daddy issues, and
Okay.
especially with my mother. And it was because I felt like the thing that I missed growing up was that I didn't have someone to teach me what it was to be a woman. So a lot
Gotcha.
of my womanhood like seasons and things, I had to learn on my own. I mean, I had my aunt, but she also had a daughter, so she was raising her own. And then I had my grandmother, and she was raising us. So she didn't, they gave a little bit, but they didn't give what I felt I needed. And so how power reconciliation came about was in August of 2020, my mom had a massive stroke,
Sorry to
and
hear.
I did not think she was going to survive.
Now, when you say your mom, you're talking about your biological mom or your grandmom?
My biological mother.
Okay.
Yeah, so she winds up having a massive stroke. And right before she had the stroke, I get a phone call 3 o'clock in the morning because she still resides in New York. And it's a drug dealer on my line basically telling me that if you don't give up this money that your mother owes me, she gonna be dead. 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. So wait a minute, I'm having a deja vu moment. Like, because the story, no, seriously, the story you just told me, I heard. And I'm
Wow.
like, yeah, this is totally deja vu. It's really weird. But keep going. So
Yeah, so that happens on a Wednesday. By that Friday, she has the stroke. And I get a phone call 5:45 in the morning, and the end of it, I ignored the phone call because I'm thinking, here we go again. It's the same person from just 2 days ago. So I just did not pick up. And something said by the time the person called the second time, it was like the Holy Spirit said, answer the phone. So I
okay.
pick up the phone and I'm like, hello. And they're like, this is a doctor calling me from a hospital saying, your mother was severely beaten. She has had a stroke. She has a blood clot traveling to her brain, and we need you to make the decision on whether or not to do this emergency surgery. It's
Wow.
5:30 in the morning, Sharon. So can you imagine 5:30 in the morning? I'm
Sharon.
like, wait, what? You want me to do what?
Sharon. Yeah, it's Sharon.
Sharon, I'm sorry.
It's
But
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm thinking to myself, like, this can't be life. But so I
Okay.
made so in the book, I talk about that scenario and how that was really the beginning of God healing me and my mom's relationship, because we kind of always had this back and forth. One minute it was like she's my mom and I love her. Next minute it was like I just didn't want to be bothered. So you get a little bit of that in the book. But the even crazier part to how God moved in the spirit of reconciliation was I am one of 6 children. I grew
Okay.
up only knowing my older brother and my sister that comes right behind me. So 3 of my mom's kids I never knew. So at the time that she's
Wow.
having this stroke and recovering from it, my grandmother, my mom's mom, gets in contact with the woman that adopted my other sister and brothers.
Okay.
So it was crazy how I'm healing this relationship with my mom, and at the same time, God decides to restore and allow me and my siblings to connect that I had never met.
So I have a question for you.
Mm.
At the point where the doctors called you to make the decision,
Yeah.
were you still harboring unforgiveness?
Yeah, I was. I honestly
Okay.
was. And I don't think I realized how much I was until I was
Mhm.
faced with that decision, because it was literally
So,
a life or death decision.
right. So, and this is my point. Why'd you decide to let her live if you were still having unforgiveness in your heart? I'm just curious. And it's a real
You know
conversation.
what?
And
I could I think it's because deep down inside, like, I've always viewed my parents as these heroes that just were who they were. So I think
okay.
no matter what her life was, I still the little girl in me still saw her as that same hero that I've always told myself that's who she was.
I
So
love
that was it. It was truly love overpowering anything. It was the fact that regardless, she was my mom.
that's powerful right there because I'm sure that some people would have thought and did contrary
Yeah.
from what you did.
Yeah.
So I think that's like super dope of you to have saved your mother's life. And I'm also happy that it started the healing process
Yeah.
and reconciliation.
Yeah, it
between
did.
you two?
It was the beginning of so many other reconciliations in my life. A lot of people are going to learn in this book my angel mom story. Most people don't know that I'm an angel mom and that I lost a child because
Okay.
I concealed that part of me for so long. And
Okay.
it's actually funny how that came out because I'm a big fan of OWN's Black Love docuseries that they
Okay.
do. And there was a couple
Okay.
on there talking about giving birth to a stillborn baby. And it was almost like the Holy Spirit was nudging me again, like, it's time to deal with that. It's time to, and I'm sitting there like, nope, I'm not. But I was so connected and so drawn in with this couple that I was like boohoo crying watching it. And the
Okay.
biggest takeaway from me was the thing that they said that stuck out to me, and I talk about it in the book, is that
Okay.
no matter what, their child did exist.
Okay. So what is an angel mom? Because I've never heard that terminology.
So an angel mom is a woman who was pregnant, but unfortunately the child has passed. So that's a terminology that I just recently learned as well because I'm in a support group on Facebook for women who have gone through losses like that. And so
Hmm.
that's an angel mom, and then you have a rainbow baby, which is the baby that comes after the baby that you actually lost.
Okay. Wow. That's powerful. Um, that's deep. So with the whole angel mom experience, is that more of stillborns or is it miscarriages?
It's both. So it's
No.
stillborns,
Okay.
it's miscarriages. It's pretty much any situation where individual, didn't have control. Because when I lost my
Okay.
child, they classified it as a missed abortion because my body didn't actually miscarry. So I
Oh,
still had
wow.
the fetus in me, but the baby had passed. And so I had to have what they call a DNC, where they actually did the surgery to
Okay.
remove the
Scrape the
fetus.
uterus, right?
Yep.
How many months were you?
I was only 9 weeks.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I was only 9 weeks. And again, it was a situation that I think I just kind of pushed it to the side, but didn't realize how much it had really impacted my life. Because after that, I started, that was actually the beginning of me discovering the fertility issues that I've battled with since then.
Okay.
And so that's where the book came from. It was just an inspiration. The inspiration really was drawing from them other personal issues in my life and showing people that God can heal. He really can. There is
God,
another side
you
to
know
pain.
what? God can definitely heal. I'm a testament to that. And that is what like I really love about God. Now, my dog done busted in this room, and normally my husband has him in the other room, and I'm trying to like keep him down and satisfied. So this is a very interesting day. You must be really special and important in that all this stuff is happening. So I wanted to ask you, okay. He likes to come to interviews, and normally I don't let him come to Friday nights. But please say hi to Leah. See,
Aww.
he never comes to Friday nights, these lives, but he goes to every business meeting with me.
I love it.
So, I love God because I love the fact that he can take our pain away
Yeah.
if we allow him and if we choose
Yeah.
to allow God to heal us. And that's the amazing thing. And I tell everyone it's a choice.
It
Like
is.
you don't have to hold on. So could you walk me through your healing process?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I because I work in mental health and I've been in mental health going on 9 years this past February. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
With your
So,
master's degree.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So it's funny because I got into mental health thinking that my role was to learn the tools, learn the skills to fix my dysfunctional family. That was the reason why I got
Okay.
into it, right? Because I'm like, I'm gonna
Wow.
learn these things and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna get my family together. And over the course of the 9 years and working in different population settings and even going to grad school, I realized that's not even my job. My job is not
Okay.
to fix anybody. My job is to guide you to the answers that you already know. And I tell you, the best piece of advice I got was from a professor who said, always remember it's your client's life anyway. They know. They ultimately know what it is that they want to do, where they want to be, how they want to get there. They know.
Right.
Your job, guide them to that point. And so
Okay.
that was like a aha moment because that was the beginning of me releasing myself from feeling like I got to fix my parents or I got to fix my
Okay.
siblings or I got to fix. Nope, that's not my job.
You wanted to fix the world, right?
Right, right. And I realized that that wasn't my job. My job wasn't to save people. My job wasn't to be God. It was to help
Right.
guide them. So after coming to that revelation, what really started my healing journey was 3 years ago. Unexpectedly, I lost my fiance, and he
Wow.
passed away.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. He passed away unexpectedly the day after Mother's Day, and I started going back to therapy because I had been in therapy before. So I started
Okay.
going back to therapy to really work through my grief with losing him.
Okay.
But it's always funny how God works. So I'm in therapy, working through grief, but at the same time, all these other childhood traumas and experiences and things that I thought I dealt with, and God was like,
Hmm.
"No, you didn't really deal with it." Um, starts to surface, and so I go for one reason, but in the process of going for that reason, I realized that I had been grieving my whole life. I had been grieving not having my parents. I had been grieving
Right.
my struggles with being a woman. I had been grieving my whole life, and it just took this one incident or situation to expose all of that.
Well, how'd your fiance die?
He had a heart attack.
Wow. A young man?
30 years old when he died.
How'd you deal with that? Not the therapy part, but like when you hear something like that as a young woman, how do you even begin to process that?
Whew, I don't even think I did in the beginning, honestly. So we were living together. I was
Okay.
actually the last person that touched his body before they declared him dead.
Okay.
Um, so that was traumatic for me. That was very traumatic for me. And I remember just needing to run. Like the
Okay.
week leading up to his funeral, I didn't want to be around nobody. His father would always check on me and want to make sure, did you eat? Did you do this? And I'm like, leave me alone.
Okay.
Like I just would get in my car and drive. And I know that's like horrible, so don't do that because people they would tell you when you're full of emotion, do not get behind the wheel of the car. But I didn't process it in the beginning because for
Okay.
it was almost like living in the twilight zone. Like I'm literally looking and I'm saying to myself, how did I get here? Like, how is this
Right.
happening? Because we were just together Mother's Day, just spent time together, just made love to each other, and now
Right.
7:25 the next morning, he's dead on the bathroom floor. Like, how does this happen? So I don't even think I even began to process it. Where I started processing was because I was living in South Carolina at the time. I
Okay.
left. So he dies, we have the funeral. Literally the next day after the funeral, I left. I got on the road.
Wow.
I didn't know where I was going. I
Okay.
stopped back in North Carolina. I stayed with my father's mom for a little bit. But even that just felt so uncomfortable that I was just like, I gotta go. Like I just needed to get away. So that's actually how
Right.
I ended up in Maryland because
Okay.
I just got on the road and I said to God, I said, God, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what the destination is going to be. And I'm just going to trust you. And I remember God saying to me, this is me and you. Like everybody that you can go to right now, you can't go to because I'm blocking it.
Um,
So it's either going to be me and you and we're going to do this together or we're not. It's your
you
choice.
know what, Leah, I have to say that I love the me and God moments.
Yeah.
And we have many,
Yeah.
you know, because you can say anything.
Hmm.
You know, and we might not get a physical response, and sometimes we might hear something auditory, or
Yeah.
sometimes we might see a sign in the earth. Someone might give us a prophetic word or intuitive message. But I just love talking to God,
Yeah.
you know, because we don't have to explain ourselves
No.
to
No.
God, you know. So you're driving, it's you and God. God spoke to you and said, it's me and you, baby. And
Yeah.
then what?
So I end up in Maryland. And it's funny because I tell people all the time, when it's God and it's his plan, you can trust he has a provision. He got everything lined up. You don't see it in the moment, but trust he has it lined up. So
Yes.
I'm probably at this point, I'm like right outside of Maryland. And I pull over to a rest stop because I just, having that me and God moment, getting overwhelmed emotionally, crying, surrendering, just saying, God, I don't know, but I'm just going to trust you.
Yes.
And something tells me to reach out to one of my cousins. And this whole
Okay.
time, I thought my cousin still stayed in Alexandria, Virginia. So I reach
Okay.
out to her and I was like, "Are you still in Alexandria, Virginia?" And she was like, "No, I'm in Maryland."
Nice. Ain't
And
God
so,
wonderful?
yeah. So I go by, I tell her, "Well, can I stop by and see you?" So she says, "Yeah." So I stopped by and see her, and she had already knew what was going on because me being connected with my fiance's family, it was such a public grief. Everybody knew
Okay.
we lived in a small town. So
Okay.
she says to me, she said, "Listen, I'm not gonna let you be homeless, so you can stay here."
Oh,
So I was with her
wonderful.
probably 6 to 8 weeks. And when I say he
Okay.
opened the door, and once I surrendered, I got a job. 6 to 8 weeks
Okay.
after that, like I was moving into my own place. Um, because
Nice.
I just had to surrender and trust that if he's bringing me here to Maryland, there's something to be
Right.
done
It's for a
together.
purpose.
Right.
Yeah, you know, I can relate to what you're saying because I'm really a nomad, right? A nomad with nice shit. So
Yes. I
God
love it.
like speaks to me and I'll be like, all right, God, like, where we going? And then I'll do it and people think I'm crazy, but it always works out so perfectly for me.
Yeah, it
And
does.
that's what I love. So you get your job, you get your apartment, you're in Maryland. Now what?
Yeah, so while I was in Maryland, I mean, when I started, I went back to, so I eventually get back into therapy. I'm really starting to navigate this thing called grief. And it's funny because now 3 years later, I can probably assist other people through their grief journey because I've lived it. And I actually have
Beautiful.
somebody now that I'm helping, and I'm like, that first year is rough, like, because it's the year
Yes.
of first. Like you're really getting used to this person not being a person you can call and see and all that. So
Right.
it was the beginning. Maryland was the place that I needed to be to find Leah because I think for a
Okay.
very long time I lost her. And I'll tell you how I found that out. I was in therapy
Okay.
one day and my therapist says to me, "Have you ever been happy?" And at
Create
first I
your
thought
own
it was
happy.
funny.
You see
Like
it.
I thought it was like the most bizarre question in the midst of therapy. And when I really thought about it, it broke my heart and I just started crying because my happiness
Wow.
was so connected to people, places, and things. So it was connected to how many friends I had, who I was in a relationship with in the moment, my family, my 2 degrees, right? That was what I thought made me happy.
Things.
Yeah. And when she asked me that, I said no. She said, "Do
You
you
know
know
what's
what?"
crazy? I'm sorry. You know what's crazy though? People have, I call it situational happiness.
I love
Like
it.
if they get a new car, they're happy. Or if they get a new house, they're happy. if they travel somewhere, they're happy. But a lot of times it's not coming from the inside out. Hey,
Yeah.
Tiffany,
Yeah.
so you're in therapy, you find out you're not happy, continue your beautiful story.
Yeah. So then she asks me, "Do you even know what makes you happy?" And for the
Most
first
people don't.
time, I had to be honest and say, "I don't. I
Right.
don't. I because my happiness was always connected to everybody else. I did for everybody else. And I never forget because my therapist said, "So when do you start discovering the things that make you happy and then do more of that?" So then I went on this journey of really discovering those things. Like I didn't know that I like to paint. All of a sudden I'm
Okay.
buying canvases and paintbrushes and paint and just creating like all types of things. But it was just
Mm-hmm.
relaxing. Like, got my margarita, got some mood music, and I'm just painting.
Mm-hmm.
So I went
Yes.
on this journey of self discovery. And it's crazy because I tell people it took me to go back to therapy for grief to
Mm-hmm.
really
Mm-hmm.
begin to find Leah and to figure out who she was outside of her family, her friends, relationships, titles, like those things were like great, but they didn't make me. And I thought
You
those things
know,
made me.
I was married for 16 years to a preacher, right? And once I left him, I discovered or rediscovered my happiness and forgotten how to dance, like totally. And people say, church terminology, how'd you get delivered? And my story is this: on the dance floor with a margarita in my hand. I've been
Love it.
saying that consistently for the last, what is this, 12, 11 years. Um, but then I also went to therapy
Mhm.
and I've learned to talk those things deep down inside my heart that no one knew
Yeah,
out. And that was the most amazing experience. Like I recommend therapy to everyone, you
absolutely.
know, and people in our community, it's or it was so taboo. You know, we were taught that Jesus can fix everything.
Hmm.
But I feel like this: if we have heart doctors and we have kidney doctors and all these OBGYN doctors,
Yeah.
why can't we have like a mind
Hmm.
doctor? Because so many things are locked in the subconscious mind
Yeah.
from when we were younger through our life experiences. So I admonish you for going to therapy and for healing and wanting to heal, because that's the first step right there, is you have to want
Absolutely.
to heal,
Absolutely.
you
And
know.
I tell people all the time there's a practical side to your faith.
Yes,
The
I
Bible
love that.
says faith without works is dead. Well, that means if I'm going to believe God for something, I have to be willing to do the work. And sometimes the work
Right.
is sit on somebody's couch and deal with your mommy issues, deal with your daddy issues. Because guess what? They coming up in your life. They're affecting how
Yes,
you
yes.
interact with people. They're affecting those relationships. I tell people all the time, there's a practical side, and you have to be willing to do the work. I have people that have come to me and say, "Oh, I'm afraid to take the medicine," or "I don't believe," because I'm a believer
Mm.
of the faith. And I'm like, "I believe in God too." I say, "You better plead the blood and then pop the pill." Like,
I like that. That's a book title. Plead the blood and pop the pill.
right. That's what like, plead it. Every time if I gotta take a headache pill, Jesus,
Right.
come side effects right now in the name of Jesus, and take my
I
pill.
love that. Tiffany said that deliverance comes through our authenticity. What do you think about that?
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. I tell people, even as a writing coach, people want to connect with people. They want to know
Yes.
that you're relatable. They want to know that you're transparent. That's why I love when I do interviews and the question is always, is there anything off topic? No. Because I want
Right, that's me too. I'm like, let's talk about everything.
right. I want people to walk away and say, wow, she's so
Yes,
unapologetic about who she is. And I am. And it didn't always
I
be that
love
way.
it.
It wasn't always that way. There were moments in my life that I shied away from that I dimmed my light, that I played it small out of fear of what everybody else had to say. And God
And
had to
don't,
tell me, forget them. What did
right.
I
And,
say?
it's crazy that so many people will dim their light for other people to shine.
Yeah.
But you know what my favorite hashtag is? IDGAF. I
Right.
don't give a fuck.
Right.
I don't like, I'm going to do me. And I feel like this, as long as God is pleased and okay with me,
That's
then
it.
I'm okay with me. If God tells me, Sharon, you need to stop cursing now, trust me, done. You know what I'm saying? But until God tells me or I decide that I want to change, I'm
Yeah.
just going to live my best life according to Sharon.
That's it.
And that's what I'm loving about you.
Thank you. Thank you. It
Just
was a process. It was a process. It was really getting to the place where, like you said, I don't give a fuck. Like this is who I
right,
am,
right.
and being and really recognizing, because I tell people as a believer, there's a difference between religion and relationship. God wants a
Right?
relationship with you. Religion will
Yes,
keep you
yes.
boxed in. Religion will say, "Oh my God, you can't come into church. You got to have a skirt past your ankles. That's religion." God ain't checking for all of that.
Right,
He wants to know your heart,
right.
and I've had to learn that for myself, that he don't care
Me
about,
too.
hair done, nail done, everything did, Leah. He don't care about that, Leah.
Right,
He
right,
like
right,
he's
right.
cool with the Leah that wakes up at 6 o'clock in the morning with the morning breath and wants to have a conversation. Like he's cool
Right,
with
right.
that. So if he's good with her, why can't I be good with her? And that's how I got
Right.
there.
Oh man, that is so dope. So, Leah, now on your journey, okay, I have to ask you this.
Mhm.
How long has it been since your fiance died?
So it's been 3 years. This year in
Okay,
May will make 3 years. And
okay.
I know where you going. Are you
Ah,
gonna ask if we
yes,
dating again?
yes,
How was I going? I just knew where it
I
was going. I knew where it was going. But yes, I am dating again.
am. Okay,
And
okay.
that was a journey too. It was a journey because when you get comfortable being with yourself and
Mm-hmm.
you really get like you love you and you enjoy the freedom of just being
Yes,
you,
right.
it's hard to kind of want to add somebody to that
It
equation
is. It
because it's
is.
like, are you going to be able to understand me and my vibe and how I do things?
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
yeah, it's been a journey. But
Okay.
I will say dating is definitely different than what it was 3 years ago when I was in a
Okay,
relationship.
okay. In what aspect?
Oh my god. It's so funny because I have these conversations with my girlfriends and I feel like you're one of my girlfriends, but
Oh, and
it's
I'm up
just
here cheesing. I'm cheesing so much my jaws are actually hurting. But go ahead.
it's you know what? I'm not gonna say all men are bad, but you have those
Right.
men that are out here just lying, pretending that they are
Oh yeah.
somebody that they're not. I tell ladies all the time, do not let the social media fool you. Um,
Exactly.
there's a saying that we say in therapy that you should, want to see that person in all four seasons. Like I need to know what you look
Yes.
like when you're angry, when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're like I need to know. But it's different for me because I try to get to the heart of people's issues up front.
Yes.
Like I don't really got the time to do all the like slow dancing and then three
Uh-huh.
months later, I kind of am straight up the like, so do you know your childhood traumas? Like, do you know your anger is what's your relationship like with your mama? Like I'm not
Uh-huh.
with it because I just need to know. I don't have time to waste and I'm not gonna waste your time. So I definitely am weeding people out very quickly because they're
I
like, wait a
love
minute,
it.
you're asking too much.
But that's good because, up front, they know what they're getting. And so do you. I'm on my 5th marriage, right? So this time, because I was single so long, before it was like, okay, I'm married, break up, girl. I was like this.
Yeah.
But this time, I think it was 8 years where I was single, and I've never been single for 8 years, right? And I just so fell in love with me, the traveling, the going, the doing, and just doing me. So when I was getting ready to get married, my constant conversation with him was, do you think we'll be okay together?
Yeah.
Do you think we'll like each other? Do you think we'll get along?
Yeah.
Because I was enjoying me so much at that time that adding someone in full time living together, I was afraid. I was really afraid.
Yeah.
But God worked it out. So I have to tell you this. So we're both born on the same day, right?
Are we?
Yeah, me and him. Yeah, me and him. His wife that passed, she was a life coach and she did public speaking. Me too. And her name was Shay. My nickname is Shay. Isn't that weird?
That's weird.
But that's God.
It is. It is. Because I would say, so like the guy I'm currently seeing, it's weird because I actually know him from when I was living down south. And I remember when we connected, and we connected because I think somebody he knew was trying to talk to me, and he was just weird. So I reached out to the guy and was like, what's with your weirdo friend? Like, why is he weird? Like, so that's how the conversation happened. But it was interesting. What really caught my attention with him was that he said something like he always watched me from afar, and he just waited because he just knew.
Nice. He had patience.
Yeah. So I was just, and honestly, so I tell people I'm an Aquarius, and if you know anything about Aquarians, we are very rebel, very free spirited individuals. So if I'm gonna be with somebody, you got to be able to balance me out. You got to be patient because I'm gonna do what I want to do,
right?
Whether you tell me yes or no. Like,
I'm a Leo, so I function the same way. I'm a free spirit.
Like, yeah, so it was interesting. And what was weird about it was I remember saying to God, I'm like, now out of all the men that I could have possibly liked, it had to be him. Like, out of all the men in the world.
Well, is he at least cute?
He's absolutely handsome and probably the most loving and caring. But God gives us what we need, right? He doesn't give us what we want, right? He gives us what we need. And I knew that he was somebody special because my birthday that passed, we couldn't be together. And I literally was getting knocks at my door every hour on the hour of gifts that he was sending to me.
Oh, how beautiful.
And I hadn't had that in like 3 years. So he's definitely gone out the way to show me that I'm important to him. And that's
all right. So Leah, right? You took me here in my mind, so I have to ask about it, right? I'm a thinker. So you said God gives me what we need, or God gives us what we need, right? So there's a lot of women who won't be sexually intimate with a man because they think that God gives me what I need, right? So there has been couples who have gotten together and maybe his penis is too small, or maybe she doesn't work it the way he wants her to work it. Like, in that arena, do you think that we should test it first before we marry it? And you can answer from any perspective: the therapist, the Leah, the church girl.
So from the Leah perspective will say, I absolutely think you should test drive it. Because you can test drive a car before you go and purchase it, right?
Right.
So that's true. But from a therapist perspective, what I would say is your partner can be teachable. You know what I mean? Like, but here's what
if they don't want to learn?
Here's what I've learned about when working with couples. is that the biggest reason why, sex seems to be an issue is two reasons. One, we have unrealistic expectations. And it's funny we're having this conversation because I had it with him earlier about realistic expectations when it comes to your health, having a healthy sex life. Like some people will say, "Oh, I want it 6 times a week, but you work 12 hours, she work 8 hours. Like we got kids. Where do you, what you want 6 times a week? You want lazy side booty? Because you might get lazy side booty.
Okay, side booty is when you just toot it right and just lay there and let okay.
Like, you're not getting full on 6 times a week. So
okay.
Unrealistic expectations is one part, but then we don't communicate. So we don't communicate to our partners, one, how we want to be pleased.
Okay.
Which usually is because if for us ladies out there that's listening, we don't know what turns us on.
That's true. But Leah, I have to say this. Some men, right? Okay. I know a genre of women who like whips and handcuffs and and there's a lot of men, especially black men, who ain't going for that.
They not. I'm telling you, I'm listening and I'm like, I just had this conversation with the today. So they're not. And it's funny because I'm one of those like handcuffs type of women.
Right.
And I remember I had that conversation today with him and he said, he was like, yeah, no, I don't want to feel like I'm going to jail. So
that's the whole conversation.
Right. It's the association with prison and jail that makes a man be like, I'm not doing. But it was funny because I said, okay, well, where do we compromise? And that's, again, the therapist.
I like that.
Where do you compromise? So if you're not going to do handcuffs and you know that I'm the type that might like handcuffs, can we do a blindfold? Can we do, where's the compromise? So I think that's the reason why people have unhealthy sex lives, because they don't know what turns them on. They haven't communicated. They're not willing to compromise. And then they have unrealistic expectations.
I totally agree. Now, I know women, right? And I'm talking to therapists, Leah.
Okay.
Who thinks it's okay to, what's the gland in the man's rectum? It's a gland that if you rub it, he'll come without even having sexual stimulation. Mm-hmm. Do you think that is far-fetched from a woman's perspective? Like, because, well, you would think I'm gay, or you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you're like, no, you're straight. You just want to experience something different. So, Leah, the therapist.
You know what? I think that again, it's about what turns you on. Because there are some men that are all into anal play. And
right. You know, see, I love your generation. Like you say, side booty, anal play. I love it.
But yeah, there are some men that are into that. There are men, I know of some that, they like their booties ate. Like there are men that are into that. For Leah, not Leah the therapist, but Leah,
right.
We raising some red flags. Like I'm just gonna question, your sexuality. But Leah the therapist, I can understand it.
Now, do you think that that's our culture, the Black culture, who would think you're gay?
I do. I think that's the culture, because I think that we grow up in a society that anything that is not deemed normal to us, mm-hmm. It's got to be gay or abnormal or something. Mm-hmm. It's weird. And I think that comes from lack of education, because we don't know, and we choose not to know. But there are I do know some men that's what they enjoy. So if that's what your partner enjoys and you're open to it, go for it.
I totally agree. I like you. You are a Christian woman with an open mind, and maybe that's because you're a therapist too. I don't know, but I
Yeah.
love it
Yeah.
because these these type of conversations, some people aren't just going to have,
No. No.
you know.
And the
So,
church should have them. The church should be talking about sex. I have these conversations. I have friends who are sex therapists, and they will say,
mhm,
"Well, where do you think most of the sex is happening?" I'm like, "Right, with church
it's
folks."
in the church,
Right. Where
right?
who you think is having more babies out of wedlock? The church
Church
folks.
girls.
Right.
You
So
know
and
what? And I think it's because we're always taught don't do, don't do, don't do,
yeah,
as opposed to just allowing people to live and educating them
that's it.
and stop putting the restrictions, because when you restrict and you keep saying don't do it, makes you more likely to do it.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I absolutely listen. I tell people I think I was 14 when my grandmother gave me a sex talk, and she raised me in the church. And her sex
Okay.
talk was kissing leads to other things. The end. Well, what do you think a hormonal 14, 15-year-old is going to do when you tell them kissing leads to other
Kiss.
things? Like, I'm trying to see what it lead to,
What's the
grandma.
other thing?
Right?
Well,
Like,
mine was when my period came on, my sex talk was your period's on, you know you could get pregnant, don't have sex. That was mine.
right. So I think the worst thing that we do, especially as believers, is we do the fire and brimstone sex talk with our kids, like
Yes.
you're going to hell if you do this. I think the best approach, educate them. Because here's the thing,
Yes.
our children are going to go out into society, they're going to get around their friends, they're going to get around their classmates who are either having sex or talking about it, and they're going to learn from
Right.
them. Whereas as the parent, you can educate them so that when they're
Yes.
ready, they can make an informed decision because they're gonna have sex. But I don't even have kids, but I'm an aunt of 10, and all of them will
Okay.
get the sex talk from me, and I will educate you so that you can make an informed decision about your body and your
I love
virginity.
that. See, I don't know if you're a millennial or a Gen Z, but you all think so much differently from like the X's and the baby boomers. And to be honest, I relate to you all more than the Z's or the X's and the boomers. Like, I just feel more comfortable. Like, you all are easy to talk to
Yeah.
and
I
more
think it's because
open.
we're open-minded and we're willing to be educated and learn, and then help educate, our friends and our loved ones. I think that's really what it is about my generation, is that we know that how grandma and grandpa and them did it don't work. So
Right,
we're willing
right.
to do something different, and I think that's why we continue to be as successful as we are, because like I tell people, if and when I decide to have children, they will be educated. They will learn.
Yeah,
I'm not giving you the birds and the bees. I'm not gonna be like, oh, a stork came and dropped you on mommy's porch and voila, you're here. Like,
right.
we're not doing that.
A lot of us thought that.
Yeah, because we
You
were
know what I'm
taught that.
saying? Right. And it just passed down from generation to generation. So I have to ask you, because you've healed, right? How would you suggest that someone begins their healing process?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is you gotta admit. You gotta admit that you have some problems. You have to admit that you have some issues. Because here's the thing I've learned about when you have childhood traumas and all that thing, they are showing up in your life. They're showing
Right,
up in how you interact. They're showing up in your relationships with your friends. They're showing up even in your relationships with men. They're showing up. Right? Like I'd be the first to admit, when I started my healing journey, one of the things I had to heal from was abandonment issues because my parents weren't
yes.
there. And I didn't even realize
Mhm.
how bad my abandonment issues were until my fiance who passed, he wasn't an argumentative guy. He was a conversationalist. So I'd be
Okay,
ready to argue because again, growing up in that environment, I'm thinking arguing is actually communicating, which is not. So I had to learn that. But growing
right.
up, seeing that play out over and over, getting cursed out, people cursing, all like that's what I thought was normal. And so it took me to we got into a disagreement one day and he walked away. And boy, did it trigger my abandonment issues.
Because you thought he was leaving you.
Yes, I went down that rabbit hole. It was like, oh my God, you don't want to be with me no more. But how I began to heal from that was one, I had to tell him, hey, when you do this, I feel abandoned. I feel like you're walking away from me. And then because I was willing to be vulnerable, what he would do to help me in those moments would say, I'm not walking away from you. I'm walking away from this conversation. And that was the beginning for me.
I love be vulnerable. It's so hard for so many people to be vulnerable.
It is. It is. And that's because we're taught, especially Black women, we're taught to be superwoman and wear the cape and, make up this thing up. But here's the thing, we're dying. Heart disease and heart attacks is the leading cause of death in women.
You know why Black women having heart attacks? Because they ain't having sex, because they stressed. No, there was a statistic.
Seriously.
That said that.
Best cardio workout ever.
But the crazy thing is, in church, they tell you don't have sex. So then they have all this pent up aggression and they're angry and they're bitter and they're not getting fucked. And then it's like they explode. Boom. And then they're gone.
Yeah.
Because they ain't had no sex. That ain't fair.
And not just the sex, but here's the thing, what I share as a therapist, our emotions show up in the physical first. So
yes,
when you're bitter, when you're carrying the unforgiveness, when you're carrying the childhood trauma, when you're carrying all these hurts, when you're carrying all of that, your body feels it. Your body feels it.
Oh,
then it manifests itself
cancer,
in migraine,
stress,
headache, stress, heart disease, obesity, because now I'm eating my feelings because I really don't want to deal with it. So I'm emotionally eating. That's how our emotions manifest itself. So the first thing you got to do is admit, I got an issue, and I gotta, and then be open and willing to try something different.
I love that. Leah, do you look at? I love therapy. Like I actually told my husband that I think I want to go back to therapy because in therapy you can say some shit, right? And not be judged.
Especially if you have a good Black therapist. Like I have an amazing Black therapist, and sometimes I got to get on there and be like, "Girl, let me just tell you today about." And she just goes in there and have it.
I've had white men, and I've found so much success with them that, no offense, because I'm all about Black businesses, because I support a lot. I'm kind of skeptical about going to a Black therapist.
You know what? I've had both. I've had a white female therapist who was absolutely amazing.
Okay.
And then now I currently have, because I tell people I'm a therapist that has a therapist. I think all therapists should.
I love it. Right, exactly.
You're dealing with people's traumas all day. So who are you kind of processing and bouncing that off of? So, but she's amazing. And sometimes you just need that. I tell people you just need that outside objective point of view of life. You know, your friends is good. Like nothing wrong with sitting down and having margaritas with the girls and having conversations.
Right.
But sometimes when you're dealing with that heavy stuff, you need that outside objective person that's going to help you realize, like, now you could, like, I'll tell you, I'm one of those people, I will cut folk off. Like, cut them off.
I'm just like you.
Listen, quit.
No, seriously.
And what I learned in therapy was my therapist would always say, just meet people where they are. And I'm like, yeah, but cutting people off is easier. And she's like, no. And she would tell me, she said, look at it this way. She said, you have expectations on people that, one, don't know you have an expectation of them. And two, she said, if you know your uncle is a drug addict, why would you leave your purse around the drug addict and then get upset when the drug addict does what the drug addict's gonna do? So she's like,
different shit, Leah.
then you can stop having expectations of people.
But Leah,
And
that's different. That's different though. The drug addict is to an extreme because we already know first of all, I probably won't fuck with you, right? Because I don't want you to steal my shit. Period. Right?
Right. But I think her point was when you know who the person is, you can just meet them right where they are versus trying to force them to be something they're not.
All right, I agree with you. Oh, you giving me a headache, girl. I gotta find a fucking therapist on Monday.
Seriously, listen, I love therapy. I
So do I. I be like, let me tell you.
Yes. And I love when my clients do that. I love when my clients come up with nicknames and be like, hey, Miss Leah, what's going on? It's like, again, I just want my sessions to be authentic. Like, just be yourself.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation, and then let me help you see some things differently. So then you can try to do some things.
Right. That's true. I wanted to ask you this question. Have you ever seen the show Billionaire on Showtime?
No.
Damn, never mind. I can't ask you the question.
I'm gonna add that to my list. Listen, now in this quarantine life, I'm like, every time somebody recommends a show, I'm like, let me add it to my list.
All right, so you gotta contact me on Instagram, right?
Okay.
So I know when you watch Billionaire, just maybe like the few first like episodes, because I want to ask you some questions about that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna watch it and then I'm gonna reach out to you.
So Leah, you're so amazing. Tell the audience the name of your book again, please.
Yes, ma'am. So it's Power of Reconciliation, Healing from the Inside Out. It will be available March 23rd.
And where can they purchase your book?
Yes. So all my books are on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, Walmart, wherever books are sold.
Okay. And if they can't remember the title, could they type in your name?
Yep. If
and
you type
the book,
it shows up on the show, Leah M. Forney, you will pull up every book.
Okay. So peoples who are watching now and who will watch later, please go buy Leah's book. Go to Amazon.com, and look under her name, Leah M. Forney. I'm sure that you're going to get many jewels. You know, that's the new word, right? They're dropping them jewels. She's going to drop them jewels, okay? In that book for you, okay? And the margarita didn't kick in, so don't think it's the margarita, because I'm going to get me another one after, right? To go with my pizza. So please purchase Leah's book. You can go and Google them now. Her upcoming book release is March 23rd. Leah, do you have a website as well?
I do, but it's under construction because I'm rebranding. It's year 4 for me, so I'm like, everything's getting done over. So yes.
I know. I keep doing. Maybe I need therapy for that, Leah. I keep changing everything. Like I'll be like, oh, and then like a month or two later, I'm like, no, I want to do this, and it's like everything has to be perfect. Right? I have this perfection spirit, like a spirit of excellence. It has to be. And I will keep doing it over and over and pay for it until I get it right. Yeah. You know, so maybe there's some mental OCD or something. I don't know.
I think it might be the need to control.
Well, I like to control me in my situation.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, I don't like how you said that, Leah.
Look, that was nervous, Leah, real quick.
No, Leah. Come on, do some therapy. I'm listening. What questions you got, honey? Leah's going to do some online therapy to me, y'all.
I'm the same way. So I'm a perfectionist. I'm the same way. Everything has, especially if my name is on it, it has to be
Right.
excellent. And I have learned that stems from, one is a trauma response for lack of control in my life. So there has been times in my life where things were out of my control. And so the way that I control or gain control is by trying to control the things that I do have control over.
Okay. So I have to ask you this. Now we're going into therapy, right? And we were getting ready to stop, but you said, and I don't appreciate it. Yeah, Leah, I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, this is what I was going to say. I have a tendency, and I was telling my girlfriend this today, to compete with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm always in competition with myself to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like a therapeutic issue, or is that just who I am?
I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that you should always strive to be the best version of yourself. I think it's a self-awareness thing. I do the same thing, and I will add to that because one of the things that I do is my closest friends, my tribe. I'll ask them like, what do you think I should do? How do you think I should be better? Or what are some areas in my life that you think I could improve on? And it's funny when I ask that because the first thing they're thinking is I'm trying to set them up. But really, it's self-awareness. It's me wanting to know, how do I continue to cultivate growth and development so that I'm always showing up as the best version of myself.
I love that. On social media, well, I already know everything on social media is Leah M. Forney or Leah Forney.
Leah M. Forney.
Okay, so everyone,
Instagram,
please.
I'm on Instagram. I am Leah Michelle.
Okay. So for the listening audience, please go and like, share, reach out to Leah M. Forney. I am Michelle Forney.
I am Leah Michelle on Instagram.
I am Leah Michelle on Instagram. Are you on TikTok?
I'm not on TikTok. Look, I stay away from the TikToks and the Snapchats and all that. Mm-mm.
It gets to be too much,
It does.
but
It does.
it
I
is
like
what it
watching
is.
them. I do. I like watching them
Okay.
for entertainment, but I'm not about to do synchronized dance moves, you know.
I'm so uncoordinated. I can't do it, girl. I cannot.
Listen, I can't do it.
But
My body will remind you I can't do it. I remember when the busted challenge, people were like, girl, you should do it for your birthday. I said, tell my
girl, I
niece to
tried to do it right. I forgot to go back, right? So I did the first part, the normal. And then when I went to go down, that right knee said, right. And I said, okay. And I got back up. So then I figured, okay, I saw people who didn't go all the way down, but they could get down somehow and put it on the camera and do their thing. I could have did that, but I don't know how to work the TikTok.
Yeah, I tell people, like, listen to your body. My knees will remind me, like, girl, you can't drop it low like you
How
used
old
to.
are you?
I'm 34.
Girl, you better drop it down.
I'm done. Listen, I tell my siblings, my younger sisters, they'll complain. They're in their 20s. I'm like, live your life, because when you cross into 30, it gets crazier from there. Like,
No, it doesn't, Leah.
my body
Girl,
will
what are
listen.
you doing?
Listen, I'm living my best life.
Do you
I'm
work
traveling. I'm doing all that other stuff, but trying to drop it low.
out? Girl, I like dropping it low.
Nah, I'll drop it low in the bedroom for my man. But we're not dropping it low on TikTok and all that stuff. I'm not. Because
Leah, I want you to, girl, okay, I need you to drop it low, right? And then tag me in your TikTok so I can laugh.
The problem isn't getting low, though. The problem is getting back up.
Oh, okay. I got you.
That's the problem.
It's
The
that
problem
balance. Okay. Well, Leah, I so appreciate you. You have been so fun It's so
Yeah.
phenomenal. Like I just smiled and laughed, and you've made my night. Because when I first came on here, I was like, because I was like a little like right there on time, and I am
Right.
definitely an on time person. So thank you for making my night
You're welcome.
light and just enjoyable and pleasurable. I hope we added some value. That's a new word. And we dropped some gems. Yes, honey. Uh, I learned all this shit in Clubhouse, right? So to everyone who has graced us with their presence. Um, so thank you very much. I'm gonna take you off a screen real quick just to say my little schmeal.
Okay.
But don't you go anywhere,
All right.
please.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much again. I
You're
appreciate you,
welcome.
and I know my audience has too. Thank you. Hey, butterflies. Wasn't Leah just amazing, fun, approachable, authentic, honest, true? And didn't we learn from her? We learned about the process of healing. We talked about the need for many of us to go to therapy. Again, I'm going to be honest. I said that I'm going to seek out a therapist on Monday. And not that I have some real serious issues, but sometimes I just like to talk, right? I like to talk a lot of shit, okay? And I need somebody to talk to. Um, but yeah, life is wonderful. Don't forget, 134 reasons you can't find a man. You can go to 134reasons.com. I start my virtual book tour on the 27th of March. And thank you for tuning in as usual. As usual. Oh, God, that might be the margarita. As usual, you guys have been phenomenal. Tiffany and everyone who has been here and communicated with us, I want to say thank you for adding value to this conversation, and have a blessed night. Don't forget to stay outside of your cocoon and flap your wings, because you are truly a beautiful butterfly. Have a blessed night.